go live. Somebody left. And just as a backup, I'm going to record it on Zoom also. In case you can see the video on the video on YouTube, but some people can't hear the audio. Right. Which I'm not sure why, and I haven't like figured out yet. I've been trying to contact YouTube to say why can't we hear the audio. But when I take a recording on Zoom and I upload it to our YouTube channel, it's fine.
So before we only relied on YouTube, but now you're going to do the Zoom as a backup. Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, sorry. You're live on YouTube, but just give me 1 second to start the recording.
Thanks, Shelley. All right, good afternoon, everybody. We will call the Citizens Association of Santa Clara County Executive Committee meeting to order at 2:03 p.m. on March 22nd. Thanks for being here. Shelley, can you please take the roll?
Yes. Okay, Lisa Fliger. Here. Larry Klein.
Here.
Tina Walia.
Here.
Hung Wei.
Here.
Margaret Abekoga. Margaret Abekoga? No. Okay, we have quorum with 4 people in person.
Great, thank you. Next, we'll move to public comment on non-agendized items. Do we have any public comment online or in person?
No one online.
Thank you. So then we'll move to the agenda. First thing, the consent item, which is our minutes from our last meeting of February 23rd. Any questions, discussion, comment? Seeing none, we'll take a motion to approve.
Second, my plan.
Okay. Motion to approve the consent agenda by Walia, second by Klein. Should I take roll call vote? Okay. Lisa Fliger. Larry Klein.
Yes.
Tina Walia.
Yes.
Hung Wei.
Right.
Motion passes unanimously.
Perfect, thanks, Shelley. All right, next to the president's update, and I did promise Tina we'd get out of here by 3:15, so I'm gonna try to go as quickly as possible. On the president's update, just 2 things I wanted to share with the committee. One is for our meeting in April. If possible, could you please block up to 2 hours on your calendars, because we'll be looking at the bylaws. I plan to make the agenda so that that's the first thing we do, just in case people have to leave at 3:30. But if possible, please block from 2 to 4 at our next executive committee meeting, which I think is the 19th. And then the second update I wanted to share, thanks to Mayor Klein, we'll be hosting our next board meeting. So our April board meeting in Sunnyvale in person. So thanks, Larry. All right. Next, so any public comment, any questions, comments on the update?
I have the meetings the 26th, is that right or wrong?
For the board meeting?
No. For the executive board meeting at the end of April.
Oh, did I got the date wrong? I said the 19th, if
I
it's
know.
wrong.
At least I have it on my calendar as the 26th.
Okay,
It's the 26th.
Okay.
okay.
I just wanted to
Thank you.
reconfirm now.
Thank you.
Should I update the calendar invitation to make it 2 hours?
Yes.
Yes, please. Okay, thanks for that, Larry. So no more questions, comments, any public comment on the president's update?
Okay.
All right, next we will do the JPA update, and I see we have our general co-counsel Shen online, so I'll turn this over to him.
Hi, everyone. Just in the interest of time, I just wanted to highlight one still remaining to-do item related to our recent formation as a JPA. You may recall from my earlier email about Form 700s that one of the things that we need to do within 6 months of forming as a JPA is establishing a conflict of interest code for the Cities Association. As I'm sure you're all very familiar with, the conflict of interest code identifies the positions that need to file Form 700s and their level of disclosure required for those forms. Given that we are coming up on the summer, and I believe we're not meeting in June, I wanted to suggest perhaps bringing the conflict of interest code to the full board perhaps in May, if that's acceptable to the executive committee. I don't imagine it'll be terribly controversial. I think that everyone will be filing Form 700s on the board. You all do in many different roles already. And likewise, myself, Janie, and Shali would also file Form 700. So I think it'll be rather routine, but I did want to suggest doing this before the summer starts, even though we do theoretically have until perhaps August, just to get out of the way. And then I don't know if Shali has any other further updates on JPA formation items.
No, there's just that one form that Jamie said she'll let me fill out.
Okay.
I think it's 405.
Any updates on the insurance?
So, no.
Any questions? Thanks, Andrew. Any questions, comments, discussion on the JPA update where we are? Everything's moving along. Thanks so much, Andrew. You and Jenny are amazing.
Thank you.
On the, just to respond, and I'd love to hear from others as well. I agree. I think we should bring the conflicts code to the May meeting because it's going to be due in August. We don't meet. June is a party. We don't meet in July. And so giving people a couple months advance notice, I think will be helpful. So I agree with the suggestion from our general counsel to have this agendized in May, even though we're all generally familiar with it as elected officials. I think it would be good to give people a couple months advance notice.
What more needs to be done?
So do you want to explain what we need to do as elected, what we need to create the conflicts code. Right. As a JPA, we need to create our own conflicts code.
I figured, okay.
Right, and then I can elaborate a little bit further on the process. That'd be helpful. So we once we adopt our conflict of interest code and our designation of who needs to file Form 700, we forward that to the county. So the Board of Supervisors of the county would actually adopt it for all the agencies within its jurisdiction. So anything residing in the county, even if it's not necessarily a county agency itself. So it will be rolled into that larger effort. But I think it's good for us to sort of get it off our decks fairly soon, because I assume the county process is, I mean, I have never dealt with Santa Clara County on this, but I assume it's fairly involved given the number of agencies within the county. So I assume they would also appreciate it sooner rather than later.
A question somewhat related to that. When we were doing the 30-day Form 700 filings, Andrew, and I can't remember if you were on the call, I know Johnny was, we talked about going forward, working with the County of Santa Clara to do it, the electronic filing, we're using their system. Is that something that we haven't looked into yet? Can we help with that? Maybe we should put that on our one-on-one, but something to look into so next time we can all go through the county system to do the electronic filing.
Yeah, that's definitely a good reminder. So I can roll that into this. So when we hopefully adopt a conflict of interest code and forward to the county, at the same time, I can also ask them about how to get into their e-filing system for our purposes. So it's probably good to focus on both issues at the same time.
Yeah, because it'll be the same clerk's office people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's going to raise at the same time since it's all under the same umbrella.
And you'll remember that, Andrew?
I will.
I
I will remember. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this item? Any public comment?
No.
Okay, well, thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Next, we will have identifying potential speakers for 2024. We also already have a draft agenda for the April meeting.
Yes.
And I don't know if committee members have had an opportunity to look at that draft because it already has more than enough speakers. And we had already talked about making sure we bring the BAFA housing bond forward. And it's actually very timely, and I'll discuss that more later. But so we're really looking at the May agenda. June, we'll talk about, suggestions for an event. July, we're dark. The August meeting. So May, August, September, October. We have at least 4 more meetings. And when Shali and I met, we're like, okay, we ran out of all the other speakers we had talked about. And just also thinking about or priorities for this year, the priorities, one of the priorities being older adults. And we have already reached out to Steve Preminger to see if he has a suggestion for a speaker or a topic about how cities can approach it. So that's what we're looking for from the committee, just suggestions on future speakers, having it align with our priorities. I'm going to have Shali talk about the 2 speakers that have already approached her and how we fit those into the future agendas. But I also want to give priority to committee members' ideas, but also things that tie more directly with our priorities. So Shali, you want to cover the 2 you have?
Yeah, sure. So the VTA presentation, how that came about, as you know, Margaret didn't finish giving her update. And so we spoke to her actually in the parking lot and said, if you finish this at the next meeting. And she said, well, instead of having me finish it, why don't we do a VTA presentation, an update on VTA. So I said I would discuss it with our board chair. and see where we go from there. Transportation is not one of our priority areas, so it's a little bit tricky. But we thought maybe we can keep that in our back pocket. And just to update everyone, we did ask Margaret to finish the transportation piece only, like that got continued to April. Director Bell, Roser and Buddhist Pork from his office, Roser from his office, had emailed me earlier and followed up actually. He wants to talk to us about, Model Water Efficient New Development Ordinance. He wants to come and speak to our cities about that. And I'm not as familiar with it to tell you which one of our priority areas it fits under or at all, but those are the two. And then the other thing, this is just it's not listed on here, but keep it on the back of your mind. At some point, I do believe that the planning collaborative money will come through. So I would like to schedule our consultants to come in and give us an update. But that'll be like probably the second half of the year, so I'm thinking.
And then later with your update, I'm gonna have you update on the planning collaborative issue that came up.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Shali. So on the VTA, when Shali and I talked, we recognize that transportation is not one of our priorities. I still think it's important for our members to hear. So even if maybe we do a priority topic and then maybe have 20 minutes for VTA. But I think it's still something that our members would want to hear about, even though it's not, transportation isn't one of our priorities. Thoughts?
Quick clarifying question. So I see the April agenda that we're going to look at in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Is already full.
Yes.
So this we are looking at later, the VTA.
For the other 4 months ahead.
Yeah. So VTA presentation is in addition to Margaret talking about MTC next time, to be kind.
Well, she's not talking about MTC. So she's talking about her role as our representative, just giving an update.
Right. Super.
Right.
That works.
Yeah, right.
Thanks.
Okay. Larry.
And as far as, aging residents, I think getting someone from SourceWise here, we've appointed someone.
Yes, I'm not confused.
Oh, it's Matthew?
Yes.
He's so passionate about this.
That's not what's listed on their site.
Oh, is Gail Osmer listed on the site? There was some kind of I'm not sure what, Gail is actually not a, city council member, but nobody else stepped up, and so she stepped up to do that. But Matthew obviously is a city council member, and he was appointed by the city selection committee.
Yeah.
So I think, Tom Pickrew is trying to figure out how to finagle that without offending anybody.
So I think it would be good, not just, so Matthew hasn't been there that long in that position, having someone from that organization who really knows what's happening. And so basically inviting the executive, inviting someone to talk about, because I think all of our cities have an appointee there, or almost all of them. Every district has an appointee. This organization has an appointee. Los Altos has a position open.
That's why I looked at Gabe. I'm like, I don't think.
I'm going through the website right now.
I just said, I don't think we do, but keep going. I know who would want that. It's older.
Maryland,
I know who would want that.
Boston.
We would all want it. I just think who would be,
I'm reading what's on the site.
Yeah, she's
So-
a senior person.
I know what you're saying.
Coming into the
Yeah.
city council.
And I think this is a problem with a lot of these cities.
Mhm.
We appoint to this SourceWise, and we don't get, much like this board, thank you for doing it, we don't get feedback back. And so bringing in the executive, I think makes a lot of sense. And not to say our appointee isn't the right person, but our appointee's been there for 4 months. And so it's like having that bigger picture.
There hasn't been a meeting.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I think that's a big deal, but yeah.
No, thank you, Larry, because in all honesty, full disclosure, SourceWise was not on my radar.
Oh,
It's not something we obviously have a seat on, so
you do
So
have-
I'm glad,
right.
well,
You do have
it's
a
not
seat,
filled.
but yes, it's not an elected, it's mainly a resident from each of our cities.
Oh, okay,
So-
see?
So, yeah, and I think the last time they met was in Sunnyvale because they haven't been meeting in person. And our rep basically said, let's meet at the Sunnyvale Senior Center. We have a Sunnyvale Senior Center. Sunnyvale is relatively central for the valley, and they had their first meeting there, I think, since COVID. They've been on Zoom, and I think they had their first meeting in January or February of this year. So they're starting to
Oh, I would love
do that again, but yeah.
Yeah, so
Right, who they are.
each city
But they're,
has-
and yes,
doesn't have to be any elected.
correct.
And then the Citizens Association also has a seat.
Yes, and there's at-large positions, and every supervisor district has a seat. So it's a lot of people sitting at the table and mainly over Zoom, but their main focus is, implementation monitor, oh wait, that's not the best place. Purpose is to, board direct about the needs of older adults and disabled persons in the county. Advocate on their behalf of vulnerable and those greatest needs in the county. So, yeah, it's right along what we're asking for. Okay,
So we would work with, so yes, it's possible to do that, and I'm not giving direction, I want input. You know, possible to do that for May, working, because Steve Preminger, I think, has his own ideas.
So I
But no, but I love this, but also I know, so our new county executive, James Williams, has reached out, you know, he's new to the job, and he would love to come and talk to us. You know, so I don't know if we put him here or because the county is working with us on the senior topic. I don't know if that's where we put James or we put him somewhere else. But just so everybody knows, James is also interested in coming to talk to us.
So, can I go on a conversation with Steve Preminger?
Yes.
Okay, so I told Steve, you know, getting back to older adults, what do you recommend? Is there legislation? Is there what's the tack we take with this? He was talking about older adult suicides and, yeah, exactly. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, he told me to go check the county coroner's website, which is fascinating because it tells you how many people have died of what. It's super fascinating. But he said that could be one thing. He's also working on veteran suicides, but that's a completely separate thing. I don't know if you want to overlay the two. And he's also put me in touch with Tyler Taylor from CASCC, Senior Area something. I think they're based in Saratoga. But there was a program that he started a few years ago. Look at
in our own cities, I know.
Okay, so Reach Your Destination Easier or Earlier, RYDE. It's with all the West Valley cities. And I think it's volunteers who drive seniors wherever seniors need to go.
So a senior commissioner, and Gabe knows this, mentioned that, saying West Valley, why can't we do something similar? So that has come up for me with a commissioner.
So he has expanded that. And now they're doing something with the county where they're using their ride program and the community colleges. So I'm trying to set up a coffee or a lunch with Tyler next week to find out exactly what he's doing. But Steve Preminger told him to speak to me and he told me to speak to Tyler. So I'm gonna find out what are they doing with seniors, transportation accessibility and community colleges. Not really sure what it is, but.
Our mayor, Sheila Mohan, was a volunteer ride driver.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, my 2 cents. Yeah, very quickly. Thank you for the source wise. Yes. There is zero information that comes our way. I can fill you in more on other pieces. And important for each city to get the information. And I think Joseph is a great resource to help us figure out what at the county level is being done for seniors. The last bit legislation wise, because I was going to touch upon that in lack discussion regarding seniors, there are no bills, nothing is happening. So as a priority area, this is where we focus because that part we are not going to be able to. And I think source-wise is a very important thing for all of us to know what is happening. My city has 1/3 seniors. Now we'll leave it at that. There is vacuum of information.
and we're in the county executive. And I also heard this on the legislative coordinator's call today, ERAF. Yeah, ERA, I forget exactly what it stands for, but he'd spoken about it at the city managers meeting that was in Sunnyvale. Like he brings that up, yeah. And it came up again today, and so I was gonna ask you if you wanted to consider ERAF, or if we want to consider that. Zane Barnes said that it's extremely important. for the cities association to weigh in because it affects all of our cities, and unfortunately, I don't know enough about it to.
Which James were we talking?
County executive.
County
Okay,
executive.
just wanted to make sure.
I can send you information on ERAF, because we've taken a stance on ERAF, and, it's, some cities are gonna lose, and we talked a little bit about it at the last mayor's meeting, because some cities assume that it's going to be there every year from a budgetary standpoint. Some cities, and this is what I was telling all the mayors to go back to their city managers, it should be seen as one-time funds, and we've been getting it for years and years, excess ERAF. The state is trying to say that money should ultimately go to, private schools. So it's school funding, but we put so much money in from a county standpoint. We get the money back.
School board member.
We get the money back, and so the state's trying to claw back funds to give to other people. We're one of 5 counties, I think, in the state, and we are the biggest beneficiaries from a county standpoint. But a lot of cities take that as an assumed revenue stream on a yearly basis. And as you're looking at budgets, my big thing to all the other mayors was make sure that you're not assuming that it's going to be there, because a bill that they approve in the middle of the year could pull those funds back from your budget. So
Can you send me the information?
I will send you the information, and I will send you the letter that we wrote in basically opposing changing the ERAF formula that's currently there.
Was I made there at the mayor's meeting?
We had, I think, 10 of the 15 mayors, so, no, 11 of the 15 mayors, so maybe. I can't keep track.
And of course, if you're getting, I can't imagine a city supporting it, but you're getting the opposition letter from Sunnyvale, we should figure out proponents.
That in line.
Included in that, but also get the other side, because they're proponents.
Yeah.
So just so you know.
If there's
We can't just do,
There would be anyone in our county, I was
Right,
assuming there'd be.
right. But just before we vote on it at LAC, even though we're gonna get Larry's letter from Sunnyvale where they opposed it, and I'm sure they outlined the reasons how it's gonna hurt his city. When you present it to your committee, let's make sure we get the other side. Because you,
I'll talk.
okay,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So it was sent to all the mayors, even if they weren't in the room, but I will forward it directly on to you. You're welcome.
I just want to recap and bring us back. So for the future speakers, we have VT, and I think we're all in agreement that we'll fit it in, even though it's not a priority. Jim Bell, Luendo, it's considered the reach codes for water. So just think of it that way. I thought, Gabe, this was put on hold because didn't remember, or council member wanted this to go forward for us too, to support it. And I thought someone reported it was on hold.
The window,
Yeah.
it was on hold, they may be starting it back up, but it was on hold at the county level. And we didn't want to bring it forward until the county was ready, so they may be ready now.
When did Val reach out to you, Shelley? And this, so
Oh,
at our council meeting, a council member wanted us to take a position on it and support it and look at it. We got a report that it was on hold, so we're like, we're not gonna move forward on working on it. And this was maybe a month ago.
So Rosemary initially reached out, I think, in January.
Okay.
Cause yeah, and then she just recently reached out again this week,
Okay.
so.
They may be ready to go. It's a good program to get information on, and
So remember when we did reach codes for SBCE, it was the same thing where we used the Cities Association to like socialize and educate and inform. So it does fall under our priorities because sustainability environment is one of our priorities. So I do think we should get this on one of our agendas. And so Shall, we'll identify what the committee supports putting on our agendas, and then you and I can work to see which meeting it fits best. So VTA, yes, Muendo, yes, SourceWise, yes, older adults. And then maybe you can talk to Steve more about, because there's so many areas we can cover with older adults. You know what I mean? And I remember actually, when older adults came up and I said, do we want to have a mental health focus? I was trying to narrow the focus and people were like, no. But like suicide to me would fall under a mental health focus. So let's think of source-wise, and then something complimentary from Steve, since he really wants this, how we can partner possibly with the county. Because we're very action-oriented, so what is it that they're working on? Or what is it that we can help to support our senior community?
I think Steve and Joy.
Okay. And then separately, I don't think James wants to come and talk about ERAF with us. I think because he had the city managers, that's a different audience. I really think it's an introductory meeting. I think he just wants to meet us.
Okay.
You know, God forbid another COVID happens. He wants to know, we know him and he knows us. I prefaced it. All right, anything else on, any other ideas for a future speaker topic, knowing our priorities?
I think it fits in well, because in my mind, the bills, I may not have it all sorted out, but I have some idea. I've been talking to a bunch of people on which bill at this early stage, which ones to focus on. So I've looked way too many times at the 5 priority areas. And whatever is not getting covered there, I find these to be perfectly complementary. I'm thrilled to hear this.
Window and older adults, just to confirm. Is that, you mean these two?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and for reasons, as you mentioned, James Williams, it's important to have.
Thank you. All right, any public comment in the room online on item 4?
No public comment online.
Thank you. Next, we'll have the refresher update today's association website. And this is bringing it back because it was suggested by Margaret at our board meeting, and I know Larry supported it. So we have a motion to move forward with updating our website. And we all agreed we need to update our website. The question is, there are different ways to go about updating our website. The two that Shali and I discussed, one, we do have a line item in our budget for a clerk that Shali gets to hire as the executive director. She hasn't developed the criteria yet for that role. And so one of the things she could do for that person is describe someone who's website savvy and is able to do this type of work. So it's built in to the person's salary or hourly rate, however we pay the clerk. So that's one option. The other option is we just hire a consultant to build a website for us. So again, we just, there's money in the budget. I mean, we're still going to be responsible, but there's money in the budget for actually hire someone to build the website for us. And then, we would work with Shali for ideas on what we want to see on the website. Maybe we'll see if the board wants to do a subcommittee, a website subcommittee, to work with Shali on how it should look and the things that should be on the website. That's something we can talk about. But those are the two different approaches Shali and I talked about, and wanted to get your feedback on how we go about it, because there's unanimous support to update the website. We've all seen it, and there's a lot of outdated things. What are your thoughts?
I just want to add to one of the outdated things, because that may feed into which path we take. Besides the money part, of course, because the consultant, we're looking at least $10,000.
Right, and it's additional, whereas if we just hire the clerk.
Exactly. So one of the things that somehow I have found not to be the most user-friendly, the agenda packet when it goes in, to be able to print it and clicking. So I think the formatting of that, I'm not a techie, I don't know how to say it, but from a user perspective, at some stage, I think even that needs to be updated. And if it's overhauling, then we go to consultant. I'm not saying it's the most important, but just some feedback. Because in my city, we had issues with the website, let's say 8 years, whatever it was ago, or whenever they updated the website, redid it, it became worse than before. And I was very familiar how I couldn't find stuff.
After the update.
After the update, I'm talking 7-8 years ago. So I'm very familiar with how awful a website, which may even look better, can be in terms of functionality. And so there was a lot of feedback that I was giving, and the consultants were shocked 2 years ago. They're like, really? And I said, yeah, I'm one of the only 5 who's giving you real critical feedback. And a lot of that came through, they improved it, and things improved. So some odd comments I realized, don't keep quiet, Tina, just share it.
Always.
If
But
and when
I
it
want
gets
to capture what you're saying, Tina. So essentially you're saying, if it's a full, redo, then you're thinking maybe a consultant. So really, for you, it depends on when we talk about updating the website, what it looks like. Okay.
I'm visiting the website.
Oh, you're.
So for me, I think a subcommittee makes sense, and definitely just paying somebody. I think the hardest thing is gonna be the transfer and the existence of the old site versus the new site. Do we need to keep the old site around? I don't think do we have a retention policy? And this is a question of what do you retain from a record standpoint on your websites? But I would use the existing website is good, not great, but.
It's funky, like you don't, yeah,
It's
you have
funky
to
at
fix the fine,
times,
yeah.
And I think having somebody new implementing that might be useful, and I know that as it was implemented, they didn't make it easy to change, meaning, I think if it was simple, they basically created something that kept them tied to making sure that if you want an update, you really need to come back to us. They don't make it easy for you to make major changes, as opposed to a standard WordPress website, which there's enough people that can change that without too much effort. And so I definitely think that simplifying, and not that WordPress is the be all end all, but it's pretty much a standard now and could easily be converted into, or be a new landing page and replicate what's already there pretty easy, and then figure out what we need to improve. So I like that.
Okay, so you're leaning consultant, like just find the money in the budget, hire someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're there. Gabe, any thoughts on this?
I think it depends what you want to do. If you just want to update the website, if you're going to go out and totally redo it, I would get a consultant. The DOJ recently updated their requirements on accessibility, which is why a lot of government websites look clunky, is because that's a primary concern that you're complying. It's not your entire website, but there are certain things around agendas, things like that, that have to be compliant. So this website was probably built with that in mind. So if you're totally going out and redoing it, get a consultant. If you're just updating it, you can probably do the other idea.
Do you have an idea of how much it would cost for a consultant to update this website, Gabe?
I can tell you how much it's going to cost the city of Los Altos. It's hard to say. Most of the websites now are off the shelf. They're like plug and play. They're a standard design, and then you're filling in, your little unique corner of the world.
Like a campaign website.
Yeah. So it's not. I don't think it would be cost prohibitive if the association wanted to go that route.
One is, does anyone have an example of a good website that's user friendly that I can go check out? And the second is, last year Margaret had mentioned that the logo. I'm gonna use the word dated. That's not the word that Margaret used.
Yes.
Would you want to do like a little, I don't want to say brand refresh because that sounds like a whole big thing, but.
Well, now is the time to do it. We're a new organization.
It's true. So
Yeah,
let's
now
go
is the
ahead.
time.
Yeah.
I am indifferent about the look. There's some things I'm just like, so if we're gonna redo the website, why not look at the logo too, right?
Yes.
Right? And that one would definitely need to bring the board in, but not yet. I don't think this is something we need to start vetting. Anything else, Charlie? Those are your two questions. So for the next meeting, April, if we have time on the agenda, I think we all like the suggestion of doing a subcommittee, forming a subcommittee. So let's just do a quick subcommittee formation at the next meeting to work on the website with you.
Okay.
And then we're good. It sounds like we're gonna recommend, and I'll help with the staff report, but hiring a consultant. Andrew, do we need a motion for this?
We're bringing a recommendation to the full board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we might as well do a motion for it here.
Well, one is just how old is the website? If we get any idea.
It's the most senior.
No, it's about 6 years old, I would say.
Well, that's it.
7 years, yeah. They've updated it because that's one of the things Andy did was because it was even, it was far worse. And this is the, okay, let's pay somebody to at least make it more flexible of posting meetings and all that, before it was much worse, so.
Okay.
So this was the attempt. The problem is they pretty much kind of set it up in a way that if you wanted major changes, you had to go back to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many members of the subcommittee, or do we have that part of the discussion at the board?
We can have that part of the discussion, I mean, as long as it's not quorum,
Okay.
right? So we could say 3, because how many, we're 14.
Yeah.
So less than 8,
So,
but I don't think we need 7.
yeah, it's an ad hoc sub.
And let's keep odd numbers, so 3 or 5.
Correct.
I'd say 5.
5.
Yeah.
And we'll see who wants to be on it. And I do think committee members, at least one of us should be on it. So who's tech savvy?
I would say that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, because then you chair the subcommittee, you drive it, and then you report back to us.
yeah, we volunteer you.
Yeah.
Although I would, sorry to interrupt, I would also say Shali becomes an input for a survey, or people, if beyond the 5 people that we create in a subcommittee have feedback, having you as the funnel for any suggestions and.
Come to you, Larry.
It's the whole Brown Act, it's like, it's just easier to go there, so we don't break Brown Act over a period of time.
Got it. All right, so we need a motion.
So move 5-member subcommittee to, for
Move
the
forward.
website moving forward and putting it on the board agenda for our April meeting. And not part of the motion, but basically the idea is we'll have somebody from the exec committee on the subcommittee. It will help to bring information. And one part to keep in mind to capture, Shelley, right now is the survey idea for all board members to be able to give their input to you.
But you're not talking about an actual survey that goes out and fill out.
The subcommittee can work on it. You can work with Larry on that.
Okay.
The motion, right, the motion is we're recommending that we hire a consultant to work with this created subcommittee to build a new website. Like, that's what you guys can work out the details as the subcommittee.
That's very good.
Thank you.
Okay, and the motion is by,
Let me do the public
Tina?
comment. I don't think there's any.
Oh, that works.
Any public comment, Shelley?
no.
Okay. Andy, anything but Andy. So my brother's name is Andrew and we call him Andy, so I call you Andy so many times. Andrew, any.
You actually can call me
any-
Andy too. A lot of people call me Andy. That's fine.
Any comments before we vote and close this item? I think we're good. Good. Roll call.
Okay. Flyer,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Collier.
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, thanks, Mary. Okay, so 6, the June 13th event, which is our mid-year party. And we always have a theme, like last year, it's funny because I remember Margaret came up with the idea of doing something with SBCE, especially because SBC had offered to pay for it, which is always nice. And it wasn't until the idea was fully baked, she realized that Mountain View didn't have a kitchen like we did, so it ended up coming here, so it ended up being backwards. I do have a tentative location here in Los Altos. I don't know if you guys have seen the State Street Market. It's like an open, are you familiar with, what is it called in San Francisco? Along the pier? No, it's well, it's similar, it's an open market. Interior, exterior seating, very nice.
San Pedro Square in San Jose.
Yes, kind of. Yes, so everybody has the concept. So I spoke with the person who manages that property a few months ago. He said, definitely they would allow us to do it there. It's just a matter of landing on the date. I have not gone back to him yet on the date. And it's a great location. Please visit it. So we're just soliciting ideas today. One of the things I know I would like us to do at this event is to really celebrate the JPA, because by then the bylaw should be done. Everything should be done by June. And I would really like to recognize Chappie, Mariko, like all the people who really brought us here. And that will just be a small piece of the event. But I wanted to just check with everybody, any ideas for a theme for this party. We've done, different things over the years, as you know.
So how large is the location? Is it, when you say street, is it outdoors?
No, it's indoors. It's like an indoors open marketplace where you have different restaurants or vendors along the wall, and then inside is the big seating area.
Would you say the seating area alone is just like two of these rooms? You know,
Yeah.
one,
And then you have the
Yeah.
vendors around a nice bar,
So then.
and then outdoor seating as well.
But then we'll be reserving all those vendors at that time, or is it open to the?
No, if we reserve it, we get the space vacant.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yes.
thinking, because that may become too expensive.
Yes.
Do you choose vendors?
We would cater it.
Yeah, okay. So we shut the vendors down.
Shut the vendors down, but we'll use their counter space. Yeah. So that's the venue idea. Again, let's say we have an idea, that's a cooking idea, even though they also have a kitchen there. But let's say we come up with an idea that's so great that that location doesn't work, it's okay. We'll just move to a location that works. But tentatively, that's a location that I think would be fun. Just the layout, and it's here in Los Altos. So ideas, though, theme, any ideas, if you want to think about it, Shalia and I will continue to think about it. And maybe we'll have a proposal next month, but just wanted to pick your brain.
Sounds good. Are they okay with closing it up? So.
Yes. So they'll reserve it. I have not given him the date. So I think that will have to factor into their own schedule and reserving it for that time. But we always, it's at 7 p.m.
exactly.
Yeah, so my concern is only the expense if we stop them from doing anything else. Other than that, it sounds great. Okay.
So this building, yeah, it's okay. I'll
It's
tell you.
easy walk from here if you wanted to, if the LAC members wanted to walk over.
Well, no, so Shali had, I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot. We do have a LAC meeting because we wanted to make sure we got one more LAC meeting. Are you aware of this LAC chair?
It was your, it was your, yeah. It was your idea.
Yeah, I do remember. We
You
put
had
it
a
back.
quizzical, I'm like, so, right, we put it back.
Yeah.
It was, right.
Right.
So we put it back.
Mhm.
And we normally have the LAC meeting before the board meeting. And so we could easily do the LAC meeting here and everybody walks over, it's downtown. Or Shali had a good suggestion, if we decide to do it at State Street Market, they have rooms. And then you just do your meeting in one of those side rooms, if they allow us to.
Sure.
I think that makes more sense. Because I think we had a LAC meeting or selection, I think it was a LAC meeting before one of our parties pre-COVID in Palo Alto. So the maybe
From Sunnyvale.
the art space or something in Palo Alto, I can't remember where we had it.
Right.
But basically, oh, let's have a LAC meeting before our holiday party because we had something to get done by, or no, it was the executive board meeting before, because we had something to get done before the end of the year.
Right.
One of those, so,
That location makes more sense, I agree.
yeah, as opposed to finishing and then transitioning.
Arts museum, a museum sounds nice. We don't have a museum here, but it'd be nice to have a party. No, State Street Market is nice. Okay, so just keep thinking about it. Shali and I will continue to think about it and talk to the owners to confirm that if we decide to move forward with that space, we can have it. It's open, it's for whatever we want to do with it. It's fun, and it's a fun venue. Any public comment?
No.
And Andrew, on this item, I know the attorneys are gonna tell us about, donation of a place and all that, so we'll figure that out with you to get like how we manage that.
Yeah,
Cause they
absolutely.
would charge us.
No, happy to help out.
Thank you. And then if we're catering and we don't have a SBCE to pay for it, then we have to figure out how much we're gonna charge our members, but we'll get to that once we know what we're doing. I know, hey, president of SCC, we could come back to you and ask you to pay for this. Like, I'll just do some environmental element to it.
But they want to do something with us again.
Perfect.
Let's
Let's keep that in mind. Let's keep that in mind. Okay. All right. So next we have agendas for our next meeting, and I will turn this over to Tina.
Thank you. So very quickly, our meeting in April. Essentially, two things to do. One is we have confirmation from Senator George Becker's office that he will be available to present. Shelley, we still need to get confirmation from his office if he's coming in person to Sunnyvale and also exactly what 30 minutes. My preference would be if he can be upfront by 30.
5:30.
Would be my preference, because the second part is to have a discussion from the LAC members on a list of bills. I'm thinking of about 7 to 10 bills that will bring, and then and I'll touch upon that in a moment. So,
Okay.
so just Josh Becker, those are the two. And we never heard back from his office for the list of bills.
No.
We'll get it or not, it doesn't matter at this stage, really.
Okay.
But,
Because, yeah, because we may not be choosing his, but he can present his bill, and we don't choose it.
exactly, that's how it's looking at this point, and I'll touch upon that in a moment. So the main thing is in person and, 30 minutes, because he could easily say 6 to 6:30, which kind of breaks our other big item of that evening. So my preference is, yeah, so my preference is 5:30 to 6.
Or 6:15 to 6:45.
Thank you, or 6:15, thank you.
Just feedback when you have this conversation, because the last meeting, and I'm just an observer here, you had Evan and Mark. Evan didn't talk a lot,
Mhm.
so he went under. Mark was a talker, as we know,
Yeah.
so Mark went over. I think Josh, don't you agree, is more Mark than Evan? So you're gonna have to manage Josh. Because Mark came with his 30-minute script, like he would just, whereas Evan didn't have, Evan just wanted to talk. Evan did like a 5-minute talk and then he was just like, question, right? So Josh is more like Mark, so just be very clear about his time limitation.
How do we manage? Because I do remember sitting right there and you were here, looking at you and like.
Oh, Mark, just like,
Because I needed.
I love Mark,
Yeah.
he's great.
Yeah, because I needed to end the meeting so you could start your next meeting in time. So
Right.
offline, just let me know how we can.
No, just communicate with Josh, let him know, really, it's 20-minute script, 10 minutes for questions.
Okay,
Maybe it's better if we have it 6:15 then, because there's a very natural hard stop. Because we have to start our next meeting.
Right. Yeah, I would just say 20 minutes, don't tell him 30 minutes, it's 20 minutes, and then you get your 10 minutes for questions.
okay, yeah, and if you say 20 minutes for him to present and then a handful of minutes for questions.
Yeah.
But the only challenge is sometimes then they'll only block his schedule for 20 minutes.
Good point.
That's the.
We need him for 30, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe you can actually say, because you're not writing to Josh, you could say that it's a hard stop, we have a tight agenda, so 30 minutes would be fabulous and 6:15 works. Maybe that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Let's swap it.
Yeah.
Okay, but if 6:15 doesn't work for him, then 5:30. Yeah. Okay, the other big agenda item that day is really, thank you, Nisa. I am totally green in this space, no pun intended. You helped me see the timing and how to keep it condensed, as we've talked before, the 3,000 plus bills very early in the process. I have been very successful in having numerous conversations with different people who have given their insights offline to guide me as to which bills should stay on the watch list for now, and a lot of changes happening behind the scenes right now, and which bills seem really good to have the short list. I will quickly mention, I have a tentative list of 10 bills. So at the end of this agenda item, my request of you is to give some discretion to me to add or delete some bills. My plan, because information is coming literally every day as we speak. And my plan is to send, and I don't have distribution lists of either LAC members or board members. So if you could send that to me rather than a 2-step process, because I work.
I'm happy to consider.
That'd be great, because I work at odd times compared to you. And then I can, no, seriously, I figured it out. So that way, at least we don't delay it more than we need to. I can get to it sometime this weekend and send the list to the LAC team and the board team and say, here's a list of 7 to 10 bills that are tentatively we will discuss at the April meeting, get their pros and cons, and then in the legislative report in the April board meeting, I can give a quick overview. Then in the May meeting, this is where I am, and help me if I'm wrong, Then in the May meeting, now everybody has had time to review those bills very closely in their own processes. And then in the May board meeting, we decide the support, opposition, or amended changes. So it's a 2-month process with the LAC getting 2 stabs to discuss this. That's where my mind is. And with that, then just to finish that thought, for the May LAC meeting, we can have 1 speaker, not necessarily, or depending on who wants to come, kind of a thing, but still keep the 45 minutes for discussion of the bills, because by that time, I'm expecting more information.
There will be, and more bills that maybe council members want to consider.
There's
That-
there's an April, May, and June last meeting for me.
Yeah,
The second.
yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, but June, I'm thinking more, not for the letters perspective, because I understood from you, June may be too late for that. But if we need to, we could.
Right.
Or look at measures or other things that may be headed for the November ballot. Worst case scenario, we can always cancel
So
that.
June is not late. August, and even August, we were sending letters because by August, they've fine-tuned it. And actually, my experience, and I'm sure it's the same with Larry, it's around August that we really start hearing from them. Because that's when they actually start, because their staff have been doing all the work, right? And then finally, they have it in front of them and then they're calling us.
Mhm.
So I want to talk about your process maybe for 5 minutes, because it is different from how I have done it, and I know how Larry has done it, where you're doing a 2-step process now. I think you should run your process however you want to run your process, whatever works for you.
Mhm.
My only concern is you may not get as many letters out if you're not doing them the same day.
Mhm.
And also, if you have, so I'll use my city. We have Pete Daly, who's the Los Altos rep on LAC.
Mhm.
He's going to vote on a bill. He's gonna vote representing Los Altos. It is highly unlikely I'm gonna vote differently.
Mhm.
So I don't understand or appreciate why you wouldn't just have the board members vote that same day like we've done in the past, versus having then the board meeting take it back. Because on my council, it's really Pete who's the legislative group. You know what I mean? So me going back, I can only speak about my council. So that's my reaction to this.
I'm open to the idea. I just wasn't sure if people need more time. That's number 1.
Right.
Number 2, which I was going to ask you earlier.
How am I able to, or how do I go and find the pros and cons for people to speak on each of these bills within the next 2 or 3 weeks?
Because I'm hearing from a lot of folks who are good resources, it's too early.
So by next month, you should be able to have April, you'll have pros and cons speakers. So again, you can use the Palo Alto lobbyist, Zane from San Jose. Honestly, it's like, and I know I used to do a lot on my own, but I would go online. So housing bills, for example, you are going to find something from YIMBY or some pro-housing group outlining why they support it. Equally, you're gonna find some source, and these are League of Women Voters, like credible sources, not saying why they're opposed to it.
Mhm.
So especially for things like housing, or the environment, you can just do a search online, and also the legislative record. You can also sometimes find letters submitted there as well, and I can show you where I used to pull from that as well, because they'll submit it at the committee level. So on your own, you can find that, but also Zane and the Palo Alto person, even if San Jose supports a bill, they will also know who opposes it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and you reach out to say, you're a cities association, we're considering this bill, we understand you oppose it, do you have 2 minutes to come to our meeting? Or to submit a written letter telling us why you support it? They will know who opposes a bill. Or the Palo Alto person.
Okay, so they can even attend online.
Yeah.
Okay, either written letter, why support or oppose, and, with that, I'm not sure. I just don't know whether I can get 7
And
bills
there were
done.
times that I couldn't find any pros or cons, any group or individual in
Sure.
favor or opposed to it.
Sure.
And we just had a discussion as LAC,
Okay.
right? Just saying, this is what the bill
Okay.
is. So if you're not able to find it, we're all, like, we'll read it ahead of time.
Sure.
And they will, and then you can discuss it. Cause your bills are, I've seen your bills. Those are bills people know, will care about.
That's.
You know what I mean? Like, those are relevant bills.
I think so. Thank you.
Development fees are.
Thank you.
Development fees.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. So I can, let me then go to that, the bills that I have in mind without taking time. SB 1164 Newman Property Taxation Exemption for new construction accessory dwelling units for 15 years. It's going to impact everybody's. I don't think anybody would be happy to, but I'll find something to support it. Then Evan Lowe's bill AB 2814, the porch theft thing. Everybody's going to like that. We are all getting impacted by that. There is the income graduated fixed charge bill from Irvin, AB 1999. I think there's a lot of movement on this. So if we are doing separate bills in April, then I would not bring it in April, then I'd move it to May. Because it's too early to be working on it at LAC to take a position. Then the housing element substantial compliance, which really states builder's remedy is applicable when there is no official certification from HCD. It's like, ouch. So why not at least say this doesn't work when HCD takes so long? AB 1886, and then development fees from Chiavo, AB 1820, which is within 10 days you need to give, and I think it's going to impact all cities in terms of process. It's not a good thing. And burden on staff is how I look at it. Then a couple of, well, very quickly. Two on theft, AB 1772, AB 1779. One removes jurisdiction requirement. Then I saw one on fentanyl advisement, SB 21 from Umberg. I thought that would be good. We have seen so much in this
Umberg, I don't think I know.
county.
Oh, no, that's a big issue locally and
Yeah.
countywide. I
Yeah.
know, but
So I can research more, but it seems that would be, Cal Cities is supporting it because it's saying, if you advise someone ahead of time that this could be a crime if somebody basically dies, you can be convicted for that. It helps law enforcement to reduce, basically put people.
it gives them more authority.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tina,
I'll stop right there. I have a couple more, but not that important.
and you have delegation to put the bills, on the agenda. Any thoughts, Larry Hahn gave on the bill she has proposed, whether or not you think, no, don't bring that forward?
No, take all those, she mentioned.
Yeah, they are.
Can I mention two more then? Because I was, so SB 1095 from Becker, it seems, yeah, he's presenting that night, so I figured at least bring something from him.
Well, he's gonna make the ask for you guys to support it.
Correct. So this is the one which I feel is more straightforward. It prevents HOAs, basically stopping people from saying you can't switch from gas to electric appliances, something similar for mobile homes.
Repeat that?
HOAs can.
Stop you from switching from gas to electric. That's
Wait,
It's new
stop you from switching,
from
What we're-
gas appliances to electric.
but we're opposing it,
So he's saying, Becker is saying
right?
they should not have the authority.
Oh, yeah,
HOA
oh, got it,
alone.
yes,
So-
yes,
So it seems straightforward.
Yes.
If we want to electrify the area,
right.
support a bill which. says-
Again, we will present it, because there may be people on our board.
Sure.
Yep, we have our own opinions and positions, but yes, of course, we have some folks.
Yeah, and there is one from Bradford, SB 1130, which would expand eligibility of FARA to households with less than 3 people. And this would be just one of those things that wasn't rising up, but I felt it can help. This is digging through the layers of SVCE, and I've found something there because we do so much
It's a
work.
good,
for
yeah.
care for customers. There are a couple others which I don't think is that important right now. I was looking from energy.
And you have 2 more meetings.
So we could even do, we could put the 7 or 10 right now and maybe change something. Please reach out to me.
You have Josh, and then I think you may get to 7.
Okay,
Yeah,
but then I don't know what 7 for me.
right, and then you just keep going down your list for May. Like, because these are all good, I just don't think you'll be able to.
The next round of good, I don't know if it exists.
But
These are
that,
good.
yes, I think you can stretch that good list.
Okay. Okay, so maybe do 4 in one meeting, 5, and then the next 5 in next meeting, and you added the ERAF thing.
I've already sent you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
We can just do a combined motion approving them, and Shelley will be back in a few minutes, I'll just keep going. On the board of directors meeting, we all have the agenda. I do want to make some changes to the draft, and then obviously appreciate your feedback. So I do want to take up the CBRT measure, not because I don't think our members need to hear about it, but only because I looked at the agenda and I thought there's a lot here. Like, I'm just like, there's a lot. And ideally, I want to take off SVRIA, but I know they've been waiting. And so just good, communityship. I'm going to leave them. So I'm going to do CBRT. I'm going to propose taking out CBRT. And then for number 9, let's get rid of C. Let's just do Margaret and Russ and not do a third, because this is a tight agenda, because I know, and let me just quickly touch.
Russ is already, LAFCO, okay. Fine.
You want to take off Russ and then put someone else?
I think we're already having him speak for Serbia. SVRIA.
Yeah. No, great point, Larry. Russ, maybe, yes, he would get, 2 spots on the agenda.
No, it's more, that's kind of an update, so we probably only need one update.
Oh, you're saying treat his update as SBRIA and not LAFCO. So the update for this meeting is this.
Not LAFCO to a future meeting.
Oh,
And because
Okay.
he's speaking as well as the executive director, so he can give a little bit about his rep.
Right. So don't have Russ give updates on 2 different groups.
Correct.
Got it.
Push it to a future meeting.
So we get rid of 9. So
B,
B,
we just have 9A,
and if we can find another person, because I do want by November team to make sure everybody gets an opportunity. And that's how we did 3, because I think we had calculated that we need to do, but let's do at least 2.
Well, I look at SVRIA as that.
Okay, so we check SBRIA, we treat
Okay.
this as, and we cross that off the list. So we did MTC and
And
SBRIA,
that's
okay.
when you also have source funds, so that's yet another one.
We're getting the update some other
Different
way.
way, as long as we get an update, whether or not it's from our rep or from the executive person.
There'll be a lot of questions on source science, but yeah, probably.
Understood.
Okay, so quickly on BAFA and why, so we had a meeting yesterday in the city. And I'm also inviting, just so you know, Shali Consuelo Hernandez from, the county, from Office of Affordable Housing. Because where we are right now, and the votes are there, let me just say it on the record, it's clear from yesterday's meeting, we're all in person, like Otto Lee, Ellenberg, like we were all there at the meeting yesterday because Buffy Wicks and what's his name, David Shu came in person to talk about the importance of this bond measure. And by the end, it was obvious that they have the votes, right? So it's votes meaning to move it forward to be on the ballot.
okay.
So ABAG votes in April, so it's very important that our Cities Association members are aware of this, what it could mean, and how important it is for our cities to get involved. Right now, we should be working with the county to figure out what this plan will look like, how they're gonna dole out the money, what's the criteria.
Yeah.
This is like actually built into, I learned more yesterday, but it's built into the enabling legislation that this is a process that we need to be following. So we need to start as cities meet with the county, and it's through the Office of Supportive Housing, so Consuelo. We can do it, different counties, we heard Alameda is doing town halls in the different supervisory districts. But the Cities Association, they were saying a great place, because we have one representative there, to engage with the county on this process. So there's a lot to talk about on BAFA. I left a message for Consuelo this morning to invite her as well, because she's managing the county process. But I view this meeting, this topic as educational. It's not lobbying.
Okay.
It's educational so that cities are aware of it, what it means, and what role we will need to play, and the timeline for that. It's, very important that we know this information.
So Consuelo be the guest speaker, or are we gonna have somebody else?
No, you're having Daniel
Oh,
Slaver or
oh, Saver, Daniel Saver.
yes.
Okay.
So he's happy to come. I think he may even come in person.
Okay.
If you know him already, I talked to him yesterday, so he wouldn't be surprised if you reach out to him.
Okay, he worked with us on the August housing symposium.
What, the county?
Yeah.
Same
Yeah,
person.
yeah. Oh, perfect.
So he will be the speaker, and then I would love to have Consuelo come as well.
Okay.
Not to be the main speaker, but just to describe how the county of Santa Clara plans to approach this, because the enabling legislation just requires the counties who are the recipient, direct allocation jurisdictions, that they need to engage with us, but it doesn't describe the format. And apparently every county is doing it differently, so we need to talk to Consuelo about how do you plan to engage with the cities, because the law requires you to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Daniel's the main speaker.
Yes. So that's why, so there's a lot to talk about.
Engage with the cities prior to November.
Prior to February, because if the bond passes in November, all the recipient jurisdictions, all the direct allocation jurisdictions have to submit a proposed plan to ABAG to get it approved about how they're going to manage the funds, distribute it to the cities. There's a quick turnaround for the counties and the big cities like San Jose, where direct allocation cities, to describe to ABAG how they're going to do it. So that's why they want the engagement to start now. Yeah.
Presupposing that it's going to pass.
Right, because I mean, it's ugly.
Because this is the whole, this is the good thing from my standpoint.
Right.
They've not kept us in the loop as they decided that this is in our best interest to do an 80% to the county, as opposed to another Measure A process from a county standpoint.
So I will tell you, and I know to keep on schedule, I can tell you, myself, Cindy, and Margaret, who've been involved, have asked these questions about why shouldn't we just do our own measure and get all the funds, as opposed to just get 80, not even 80%. I will say that we will receive the most of the 80%, because it's based on how much you put in. And it's a regional measure, and of course, what happens in San Jose affects San Francisco, and so it's a regional measure. There are benefits to doing this. We can talk about it more, and so at the meeting in April, these are questions we should ask, right? Because it's not done yet. But the polling looks good, and they're bringing labor along, because labor is pushing for labor standards. We've had many meetings with labor. The housing advocates are obviously on board, and we needed labor to come along, and they're close.
I'm just looking at the way Prop 1, which
Oh.
we thought was,
Yeah.
everybody thought was,
Yeah.
oh, it was fantastic, winning by 20,000 votes. I think November is going to be an interesting time for any bond measure.
Yeah.
And cities are going to have their own measures, so anyway, we'll see, so I don't want to belabor the point.
No, and I will say on the November ballot as well as ACA 1, which is the 55%. So, and it would apply, the way it's drafted, if the ACA 1 passes, then the 55% would apply to BAFA. Same thing with CBRT. There's so many overlapping.
Yes.
needs working together. Okay, thank you.
All right.
So any more questions, discussion, public comment on the proposed agendas? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve them. Go ahead, Shelley.
I just wanted to step up for a second.
And I can give you the,
You'll tell me what.
I will.
Okay, never
Yeah.
mind that.
so motion to approve as amended, and then a second. Trying to get us off in 10
Move
minutes.
as amended.
I know it was my agenda, that's why I was hesitant.
That's it, both agendas, but that's.
Okay, motion to, sorry.
Go ahead.
Motion to approve the April 11th Black and Board agendas as amended by Klein, second by Way. Klein,
Right.
Wyatt. Fliger. Way. Motion passes unanimously.
Great. And then 8, we kind of, discussed that when we're discussing potential speakers for 2024. So I will skip item 8, and then move to 9. Gabe, your update.
Yeah, just real briefly, City Managers Group, we kicked off the Leadership Academy formally. So we have a list of topic areas, heavy on AI, again, it looks like.
Leadership Academy.
This is the coolest thing we do. I thought this,
Wait for life.
I thought this was very well known. No, so, every city nominates, people in their organization, who are up and coming, bright, employees to go meet regionally, for about 8 months, and they each get their own topic area. And then they present to the city managers, they present it, to, their hosts, their sponsors, and they work on things that, so if you're police, you're not gonna work on anything policing, you're gonna work on HR stuff. And we just started kicking that off with our topic areas.
Can you make sure you announce that at the,
Yeah, we, Los Altos, well, all cities do about 2 people, with the exception of San Jose, that's like 8, but that's fine. And that's one of my favorite things we do here. So, graduates from the Leadership Academy are connected as alumni. And the promotion rate within an organization after they have gone through this is astronomical. So we are very excited, to get it underway again this year.
And the 2 people for the city are recommended by the city manager.
Well, it's different in each city. We have, so in Los Altos, we take nominations, so we'll get them from supervisor managers, and then, the executive team will put 2 names forward. In other cities, it might just be city manager, HR director, whoever.
wait, so for Santa Clara County, your group picks of all the applicants who we want to send for Santa Clara County?
No, from our own city.
Every city
Every
gets
city.
send someone to the Leadership Academy. Okay, so when you said you guys launched the Leadership Academy, it was just you,
It's annual, but
It's annual.
we just got everything selected, so
okay,
sponsors, and it's a big deal. We talk about us. One of the greatest things, I think that we do here for, leadership development. It's fantastic. I was, I think 6. I'm trying to think. I just went to the graduation near the end of last year, and we're just starting it up again. So probably 6, 8 months.
is it statewide?
I don't know, just us.
That's just
Yeah.
But not city managers is.
There's never heard of
Yeah, I'm explaining this very well.
Not you.
So, yeah, it can be any level in the organization. Just someone that you think is a superstar employee. You want to get more exposure to maybe outside of what their daily job is and get them to contribute, in a different setting. So we've sent, last year, we sent, one of our leads on the sewer team, and they were just promoted. And, because they go through it and they come back with a different perspective of how cities operate.
Wonderful. Good leadership development within the city. That's really good.
It's amazing.
That is the only one who apparently knew about it.
Well, I've heard of it, I don't know.
Great. Okay, thanks, Gabe. I guess any other questions for Gabe? Yep. Okay, Shali, your update, and then talk about the planning collaborative.
Yeah, I'll keep my update focused to that, because you all know that we're meeting in April in Sunnyvale. I'm gonna head over there next week just to close the loop on that, just to do a walkthrough and just talk to Victoria and David. They've all been like really lovely about helping me out. So I want to talk a little bit about the planning collaborative. So, our consultants, our community planning collaborative, CPC, they've been itching to meet with the planning collaborative because they're worried about losing a lot of momentum by not meeting. However, we don't have a contract with them because we don't have the grant funds yet. So the latest that I've gotten from ABAG, and you would probably know better than me, is that they have approved 25% of the funds to be released, which for our planning collaborative is about $131,000. And so, and Andrew knows this too, our consultants were willing to work without getting to be paid retroactively, but we're really not comfortable doing that because we don't have a contract, we don't have a grant, or any of the, so it's not just the money, but it's also the grant contract itself. So we don't know what our organizational obligations will be, for example, insurance. So they went ahead and scheduled, oh, somebody just left. Gabe just, is that you? Gabe just left. So they did have a meeting last Thursday with the planning collaborative, and I told them we cannot authorize you to have any meetings because we cannot pay you right now. And, so they said it would just be the one meeting. It'll cost about $3,000. They're willing to do it without cost, but I don't know. But all they did was they convened the planning collaborative and they talked about what the funding would look like going forward. Apparently, some of the city staff need, or the planning directors need to know whether this money is actually going to come and whether they can like start budgeting it in and adding it as part of their work plan. So that was a little bit of the impetus for having to meet in March. But they did talk mostly about the 25% is coming through and what are other ways of funding this so that they're not at the peril of grant funds coming or not coming. So that was the gist of it.
No, actually, and I asked Shelley to do the update, well, for different reasons. But one of the main reasons we had to make a quick decision here within 3 days about authorizing them to meet with the city staff. And so when they said for that meeting, it's only $3,000. So we have to retroactively approve this $3,000. But we just said, you know, we don't have a contract with them. I want to tell you, it's low risk though, but we don't have a contract. There's no guarantee that ABAC is going to give us even the 25%, even though I think they will. So if we get that 25% or if the state comes through and fully funds the REAP program, then we would get reimbursed for the 3,000. But as an organization, I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page to know that we authorized $3,000 for a meeting because they were talking about the urgency of the meeting. They needed to talk to city staff. And we didn't want a situation where, you know, they didn't have this conversation to set them up for future planning. They will not do any other work until we have a contract in place and we are guaranteed the funding. But for whatever reason, they saw this meeting as a necessity to happen last week. And it was $3,000 to pay them to do this meeting with our city staff. And at this meeting, we have all our cities or most of our cities represented. So it's benefiting our cities.
What were they talking about this week?
So, I don't really understand how city finances work, but planning directors apparently needed to know whether they can count on this money coming in to do the
Portion of the work
the
for
portion of the work, exactly,
next year's budget or
exactly.
next fiscal year.
And of course, you know, there's been some buzz about cities having to provide a little bit of a match and all
This
that.
year, for REAP 2.0, they are saying that.
Yeah, so the concern is, because we talked about it earlier, the concern is if I'm remembering the correct thing. If some cities aren't using it,
No, different. She's
Okay.
talking about the other planning collaborative thing.
that's.
What is
the
that?
thing.
A different thing.
Okay, so what is this one? For what purpose?
So, as you know, over the last couple of years.
The REAP thing that we did.
Exactly.
Is the same thing?
So that's what we're talking about. now.
Okay, that's.
So we had REAP 1.0 to help us with housing element update and all this stuff. What's the other planning collaborative we have not?
Doesn't matter, this is REAP.
But it's gonna kill me. They're gonna like, what is that
No,
other
but this
thing?
is REAP.
This is REAP. So we got the REAP 1.0 funding from the state, fully funded.
Correct.
That we're able to pay the PC to work with all our cities to help with housing and
Yeah.
update the ADU, flash it website,
Sure.
all these great things.
Sure.
We've exhausted that money.
Yeah.
The state had said we're gonna get REAP 2.0. Everything is on hold at the state level.
Sure.
But ABAG has put on the table that they, out of their own funds, will come up with 25% of what the state had said they were going to come up with,
Okay.
to at least fund some of the program. I will say, even when the state had proposed REAP 2.0, the indication was they may not fully fund it like REAP 1.0, and cities would have to, or ABAG, or your COG, would have to put in some money this time around. So one, we have no idea, this is what Jenny and Andrew are nervous about. We have no confirmation that we're gonna get money from the state. I am 90% confident that ABAG will come up with some of the funds to help fund some of the work, not the full amount, only 25%, 130 for 15 cities. So we have to wait for ABAC to confirm it's gonna get 25%, 130,000. Once we get that, the attorneys will put together the contract with the planning collaborative, with this grant fund, to describe the work they're gonna do for this money for all our cities.
Yeah, and my question again is, so what work is that regarding housing element, regarding policy?
Oh, what would REAP 2.0 be used for?
Oh gosh, there's a list of 3 things and I have to look at my notes. It's not exactly the same. There's like a little bit of a different set of 3 priorities.
My concern goes back to the perception the cities had last year that they did not want to join, or they were stalling in joining the JPA. And that's why I'm asking these questions, that if we have a meeting with planning collaborative, even cities that were getting the benefit,
Right.
would say we did not get the benefit. So if we have a meeting, this is more perception.
Right.
That if we have a meeting, which the board hasn't basically approved yet, and they have a meeting that this is urgent and there's $3,000, it needs to be very clear, not happening again.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we've said that to the consultant as well.
That was
Clear. Next time not happening, and anything else, something like that happens, my suggestion is let at least the exec committee know, or somebody, or there needs to be more visibility amongst us.
Right.
I keep on going back to the perception. I want the first year to be super successful,
Yes.
so there are no things.
And you're right about, it's just how we took 10 minutes to describe this, like to put it in email to give you guys an update without a Brown Act violation. We just thought we would give it to you in the public meeting. And because of the dollar amount, but to your point, yes, we have to make sure that we keep everybody informed. And this is something we'll announce again at the executive update on the board meeting, just so everybody knows, in case you heard from your staff, this is what happened. But it was clear to us, or it was compelling enough that they needed to have this meeting, and based on what they said, and the cities wanted this meeting, the planning directors, it wasn't cities, not maybe cities, but like some cities wanted this meeting.
I believe you. What happens is, I don't hear from my city. So what would happen is 6 months down the road, even if they got the benefit, somebody there would say, no, there was no benefit. And see, we told you that's what Cities Association JPA does. That's what I'm trying to avoid.
Got it.
That's my, not to criticize.
No,
So then maybe, for my update during the board meeting, would you like me, I can find out like which cities were present, I mean, I shared the agenda with Lisa, but like what the agenda was, what they discussed.
I would have it as a backup, if people start asking who was there, I would have, yeah.
But purpose, I think, and the necessity for urgency, keep it crisp, but that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't get questions like I'm
No,
putting.
I'm glad that you're asking.
I'm coming
Right,
in.
you're prepping us.
I mean, wanting to avoid this, the word
Right.
we put last year. at the-
Preemption, it's the preemption. And then to Tina's point, because neither of us remembers what REAP 2.0 will cover. That question may
Yes,
come
let
up.
me make a note of that.
Okay, no, thank you. That's why we have a committee. If you all can just, yeah. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right, we will adjourn at 3:25.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
I called him Andy too.
Now,